Hello, everyone. Welcome to the seventh episode of AddWater and Stir. I am adopted Black mom with co-host Complicated Melody over there. Hi.
Hey, good night, everybody. Which sounds weird to say, but it is nighttime. So, how's everybody doing? It's me, Mimi, from Complicated Melody. How you doing,
Yeah,
Adrian?
I'm doing all right. I'm adopted Black mom from adopted Black mom. So, yeah, what's going on? How's mustache day and pajama day and all of this kind of carrying on you got going on?
The school is driving me crazy. For those who are just tuning in, I have a 2-year-old, and the school is driving me crazy with all these wacky days. They have crazy sock day and mustache day and pajama day and I don't know, anything they can think of day, which means a lot of stuff that I have to remember and put on my calendar about what to have ready for Nana. So I've been writing about all these little parenting fails that I'm having and triumphs. I'm
Yeah.
excited because next week is our family anniversary. That's what I'm calling it. Yes.
Family anniversary. I like it. I like it.
Yes, it is the first day that we are official. So that'll be next Thursday. Yay, yay, yay.
Yay.
And today is my wedding anniversary. So, yes. And I even stopped to stay with you guys tonight. Isn't that special?
Our deepest apologies to Wood, not because we are taking you away from him
Let me tell
on
you
such a
something.
fabulous day.
We got 4 years in the game officially. We've been knowing each other for,
Cheers.
10, 11 years. So Wood is in the bed asleep. He's like, happy anniversary, good night. So, you know. But that is my boo. That's my boo. He is everything. And he's a great dad, but he's also like a great cheerleader. He's a great supporter. So anything I want to do, he's like, I'm all for it. So if that means that I have to go sleep by myself tonight, I guess I'll deal with it. So happy anniversary, Wood.
Happy anniversary, Wood and Mimi. Go love.
I know. So what's
Maybe,
going on with you?
well, I was going to say, maybe you'll have some advice for our, during our wind down session when we talk about our show.
Monet.
But we will get to that.
Mm-hmm.
I'm doing all right. Let's see, the last week and a half or so, I guess, folks, if you're a follower of my blog, then you know I've been kind of doing a little bit more micro kind of blogging, talking about things that have surprised me in the last year and things that I hope for in the future. I like to shake it up a little bit, but it's been a really reflective time because we are in the period where about 1 year ago, the social worker told Hope about me.
Wow. So
And
it's
so,
a year of y'all knowing about each other. I remember when that happened. Yeah.
yeah. And so, the first week in October, it will be a year since our first meeting. And so I've been looking at a lot of pictures and just kind of thinking about, we have crammed a lot of living into this last year. Sometimes it seems like a blur. And so, so I've been reflecting on just our journey and thinking about what I want to happen. And some of those things are like very specific things in my relationship with Hope or in her development or in my personal development. And then, then there are some other very real things like, can the brow lady stop like shaming me?
And might I say the brows are popping. The brows are popping. And the hair is looking good too. So there you go.
So I try.
Let me get that lady to shame me to get my stuff together.
So, but last night she had shamed me so bad about like not coming in to get a pedicure that last night Hope and I did our toes. So they are, not professionally done, but they are done, and it is getting ready to be chilly. Fall has descended on the southeast, so they are about to go into closed-toe shoes. Anyway, so
thank goodness for small things.
Amen. So, but we've been doing well. Tonight was back to school night, and so Yeah, it's I was telling before we went live, I was telling Mimi it's been this last 2 weeks has been all about, single parent realness. This ain't no game, man.
Yeah. Having to do all that, that's why I'm thankful. I'm thankful
Whew.
I got a good partner because having to do all those things are no joke.
It's crazy, but we got staff now, so we're good. We're
Oh,
good. We're staff.
okay.
We
You
got
living that
staff.
middle class life.
We are about that middle class life, honey. We are about that middle class life. I am not ashamed. Praise the Lord, baby Jesus. So,
Oh, but wait a minute. Let me tell you, one of the blogs that I wrote this last week about is what I will not miss. And I am so looking forward to being able to hire a babysitter without all the rigmarole. Doesn't mean that I won't check them out thoroughly, but I don't want them to
sure.
have to go get FBI fingerprints. I don't want them to have to go to 20 hours of training,
No.
for somebody that I might not even like after the first time. So
Right.
I'm
Right.
looking forward to that. And
Yeah.
maybe we can do some anniversary things. So,
So anniversary. Anniversary. So yeah, like yeah, that this whole like we have got now two people that are pretty like we're and one of them in particular, she's with us every week and so I have date night on a Thursday sometimes.
I'm jealous. Date night. I'm first of all, I'm jealous just that you have date night, but during the week too. So go ahead, Elihu. Get it.
Hey, ABM is like making things happen over here.
I see. I see. You need to write a book so people can figure out how to juggle all that. New family, new
So,
boo,
hey, yeah,
pajamas with feet in them,
right.
or what?
Yes. Yes, pajamas with feet. Like I was in Carter's. Like no, we were at Costco last week and Hope always wants the books. Her new thing is not taking her wallet anywhere and going, "What are we going to get?" Who is we?
Ooh. Hmm. It's like Bill Cosby, like, I have money, but you don't have anything.
Like who is we? But anyway, we're like, touching all the clothes and everything. I was like, these Carter sleepers. Like, why do they not come in adult sizes? These are nice. Comfy can be the new sexy.
Okay, all right.
Whatever.
Whatever Ellie Hood likes, they do have those little things where people like to rub on furry things. So, if that's y'all, do you? No
So,
judgment.
hey, whatever works, right? So, things are good. Things are good. So, are you sipping on anything tonight?
I'm sipping on Coke, Coca-Cola. That's what I'm sipping on, in my red elephant cup though. So
Let me just say that,
catch
like,
those teas right there.
Mimi often has ABM on the solo tip.
Oh,
I
do
see
I?
you though. I see you. I see you. I see
I don't
you.
know about that. I think it's like every other week.
Just got me drinking alone. Anyway, I got
I'm
a
I'm here
cab.
in spirit. Trust me.
I have a cab. It's organic. Makes me
Mm,
feel makes me feel a little bit better about like, crushing half the pizza with Hope today. So, after back to school
because
night.
those organic grapes don't have any calories. Is that why?
They don't count because they're
Okay,
organic.
because they're organic.
They don't count. So anyway, so tonight's show we are going to be talking. Yeah, I'm just moving on. We're going to be talking about some discipline, and come on, Mimi.
Continue
Tonight
on as I keep it together over here.
we are going to be talking about discipline and race, economics, and adoptive kids. Come on, she is like barely like holding it together with duct tape over there. Um, and Mimi and I started talking about this last week as we were kind of doing some planning for future segments. And naturally, this issue has been on the news a lot in the wake of Adrian Peterson's indictment for using a switch, or as the media has liked to say, tree branch, tree branch on his 4-year-old, and and the injuries that the child sustained. And so it's, there have been, I mean, ESPN has been talking about corporal punishment, HuffPost has had it, I mean, Yahoo, I mean, it's just been all over. And so, decided to talk a little bit, we wanted to talk a bit about it, particularly through the lens of adoption, where, of course, corporal punishment is deeply shunned, and with good reason. And so, but we wanted to talk about it because this has been also portrayed in the narrative as a part spanking, whooping, beating, and other euphemisms have been said to be, really tightly knitted to Black culture. If you look at some of the data, that really doesn't seem to be the case. We just seem to kind of catch more attention around it. It's certainly also associated with Christianity and other forms of more conservative religions and all of those kinds of things. But so I'm gonna hand it on over to Mimi and kind of say, where do we want to start with this really touchy, complicated issue?
Okay, well, let's start with the cultural component to the case, because it came up because Adrian Peterson is an African-American football player. And we already have some cases in the media about domestic violence, so it kind of exacerbates the issue and gives the portrayal that just Black people are generally violent people. You raise violence, so you hit your kids or you hit your wife and all these things. And that portrayal really bothers me. One of the studies that was reported in many of the news media was by this lady, Elizabeth Gershoff. Her name kept coming up in a lot of the studies. So, and what was reported is that Black families spank more often than other cultural families. So when I hear things like that, I'm always wanting to go back and look at the actual study because I feel like I need to understand what you're actually saying, because compared to what, and what it means. So this particular study, and we can put a link to it on the show notes, talks about, she did a study around mothers spanking their kindergarten and then and then also third graders, and seeing how that behavior was externalized in their children. But I really want to point out this piece that everybody's talking about, where it says that African Americans or Blacks spank their children more often. So what it said in general is that 80% of mothers reported spanking at some point, and it shows that 89% of Black mothers have reported spanking. But then right after that, it says 79% of whites, 80% Hispanic, and 73% Asian have reported spanking.
So everybody beats their kids.
Everybody. Okay, when I read that, I'm like, wait a minute, it didn't say like 89% African American and then 20% everybody else. Everybody else is
Everybody's doing it.
Plus. So that means that's an American culture.
Yeah.
It's not necessarily a Black culture thing. Now, I was reading some other stuff online because I just got into this because I was like, let me find out about this, because I really have a problem with Black people being presented as pathological, like having all these issues that are not prevalent in the greater society. So another article I read was about the economics of punishment, right? Corporal punishment.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see, what was it talking about there? So it basically was saying that that perhaps spanking and corporal punishment is more tied to economics. So what it's saying is that as families increase in their income, they have more alternatives to punish their kids, right? Mm-hmm. So I'm able to take away a toy because I'm able to afford toys, right?
Right.
I'm able to send them to their room because I'm able to afford them having their own space in the house versus all of us living in the same space. I'm able to not give them an allowance because they normally get an allowance.
Right.
And so what it's saying is that mainly more impoverished people will probably spank more because that's the alternative available to them. And then when you add, excuse me, African American to the mix as being disproportionately economically disadvantaged, then of course that's going to still come out that way. So
Hmm.
There's other theories, maybe spanking is tied to Black people's relationship with slavery and things like that. But I think that explanation felt a little bit more concrete to me than some of
Yeah.
these other things that people are saying. What do you think?
While I can appreciate the lingering effects of slavery in perhaps um, increasing or the predictiveness of, Black folks' use of corporal punishment, the straight statistics would suggest that that impact is marginal.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, from a statistical perspective, it's the numbers are not that different. So I need to see some large scale epidemiological data showing me that there is a more statistical probability that we practice it that much more, because 80 something versus like high 70s and another 80 something would suggest that there's not a statistical anomaly that we are particularly different.
Right.
So
Right.
for me, I'm kind of, yeah, okay, kind of a little bit dismissive of that complete rationale because it is a pervasive form of discipline used in this country.
Right. Well, I think it's also interesting, I've read some blogs about it, and a lot of people are tying it. I mean, it's just a thing that most people have grown up with in some form or another. A lot of people also use religion as a
Hmm.
rationale for corporal punishment. Um, and some people just say it's one of the many tools that can be used. Spanking,
Yeah.
it's one of the many tools that can be used for discipline. And I guess I want to bring this to the adoption community because in foster care, at least if you adopt from foster care, it is absolutely a no-no for you to spank your child or to use very extreme forms of discipline.
Yeah. Yeah.
Not only because there may be laws in your state that's affected by that, but also because in most cases the child has already been traumatized in some way from either
Right.
neglect or abuse, and so you don't want to increase that.
Right. Right. You don't want to increase the trauma. And, in fact, I was telling Grammy today that we've had some really difficult conversations in our house this week about punishment. And it's funny because in some ways Hope thinks that I'm really, really strict. In other ways, like she is like the first one to go out and tell her friends, my mom doesn't hit. Like, you know, and that is a real source of pride to her that like she's not catching a beat down. You know what I mean? And
Right.
but there's also this thing, at least for um that we see, and I mentioned this when I was writing the promos, was like, there is this kind of pridefulness that still exists. Especially, I mean, I don't see my white friends going, "Whoo, you remember when my mom beat me with a spoon?" But, but
That is interesting, especially when
I
we say that 80% of white mothers are spanking kids. So,
right, right, right. And so, but I do see, my like timeline floods periodically. It was like, remember when Throwback Thursday? Remember when your mom used to like, catch you coming out of the shower, or like when you did something wrong and she tore those legs up, or I mean, and my family practiced corporal punishment, and so there is this little teeny tiny voice in me that's like, I turned out pretty good.
mhm. I think that is, when we talk about shared cultural experience, that definitely is one
Yeah.
of the things that, at least for the older generations, I think I'm including ourselves in there. That more seasoned. What's the right word for this? Because I
Yeah.
don't know if the younger ones have as much of
As
that.
much of it, yeah. I
Right?
mean, but it is a cultural touchstone that seems to also be a source of pride among African Americans, and I'm not really sure why I see the celebration of that in such large numbers. Although I am finding, at least, I was chatting with folks on my personal Facebook page recently, and I was just like, man, I'm like mad because at the beginning of the week I was dealing with apologists for the whole Ray Rice thing, which we're not going to talk about, but and then at the end of the week, apologists for the Adrian Peterson thing, and people were like, Psh, I got beat with a switch, and and I mean, I've been switched too, and I was like, but the child was 4, and if you saw the pictures of this poor baby in his underoos, he caught a beat down. And what was even more, if that wasn't bad enough, that the child is 4, that there's all of these marks and injuries, but then, Peterson had texted the mom, was like, I know you're gonna be mad. Check 1, like, he went too far. I know you're gonna be mad, but you know what? He took it like a man. He took it like a champ. He didn't even cry. So then we're also reinforcing these horrible, like, male stereotypes of not expressing emotion when your dad, like, at 4 gives you, is tackling you with the switch. And so there was just a lot of messiness that was really uncomfortable. And I had to check some of my friends and colleagues, they were like, well, have you seen the pictures of the baby in his underoos? Like,
well, I think that's interesting because, he also had a previous charge upon which he wasn't indicted for. And I guess he was in a car seat and he was getting spanked and hit his head on a car seat.
Yeah.
And the rationale given was, if he had just taken his spanking, then he wouldn't have hit his head. It wasn't me that did it,
right.
But he probably was doing some kind of defensive move, as we are prone to do, and injured himself some other way. But it clearly, this wasn't something that he felt bad about, and I don't think our parents felt bad about it. I think he felt like he was doing the right thing to keep his child alive.
Right.
And I think, I would say, at least for me coming to foster care, that is the way that I grew up. I don't remember getting a lot of spankings, but I definitely remember a few good ones.
And I mean good sarcastically.
But Mom, I remember. And while I may have turned out okay, in some ways, I don't know if that's necessarily a good reason to continue the practice. Now, I will say that it's also challenging, right, to overcome that way of thinking, especially, so I'm going to just go ahead and say for myself, because you're still dealing with a child, and we grew up, at least I grew up, where children don't really have personhood. So when we're talking about a 4-year-old, the expectation is young children are just supposed to do what you say, right? They're not really permitted to have their own ideas. They need to move quickly when you say do whatever it is that you do.
Swift.
So, like, I don't have time for all that, right?
Right.
Even though they're only 2 or 4 or however old they are. So overcoming that initial response, because that's how you grew up, is a challenge. And no matter what you say, as far as the training, you might understand all the rationale behind it, but you still have to take moments where you're like, I have to choose the way I respond and disciplining my child in a way that's different than my natural response because of what I grew up seeing and what my cultural reality around me is.
Okay. Right. I mean, I think that it's, I mean, frankly, I actually would think that a lot of brown and black folks would be surprised to hear the data on how many white people use corporal punishment. I mean, because I mean, the numbers are really pretty high. And again, it is this kind of this normative cultural behavior that cuts across. I thought that the economic article that you sent was really interesting, although and again, we'll put links to this. Actually, we can put some of them in the chat now. But it was interesting because this article was, I think, published in 2002. But even in 2002, $17,000 was still po. And so,
that was poor. I was like,
well, I was like,
stop banking at $17,000. That's still poor to me.
Yeah, I was like, so that's, I mean, if you think about the national like median income is in like 46,000 or something like that, 17 is still poor.
Mhm.
and like 6,000 is Poe. Like they've just lost the other OR. Like they're just out there. But it was interesting that the drop off between after 17,000, kind of when you get to median income at 40,000 and up, that it's really, there's really not a huge statistical difference. So, and it was kind of funny because I was like, oh, well, the likelihood that you'll lose your allowance in a 6,000 year family, and I was like, well, them kids ain't getting allowance. What the hell are they talking
Well,
about?
that was the point, right? They're saying that $6,000 you don't get allowance, so I can't take money away that I don't have.
You'll almost never lose your allowance, but in the 17,000, you'll lose your allowance 4 or 5 times a year. And I was like, okay, what allowance are they giving? But I thought it was interesting, and I thought that there was another article that Mimi forwarded me as we were kind of prepping for this called "Why We Stopped Spanking," that really kind of talked also about the generational changes and
Mhm.
how back in the day, whenever your day happened to be, you were kind of you did your homework, you got a cookie, and like go outside until I tell you to come back, like.
Right. There wasn't this culture of what they call cultivated parenting now.
Yeah, and so, this kind of notion that kids will learn, how to behave by being out and behaving. But what was also, they didn't say in this, and this is one of the reasons why I also kind of was like, I'm interested in the lenses that kind of were applied to this, there was this notion of, okay, so you go out and you play, and if you act up and you cut up or you act a fool, then somebody in the neighborhood is going to tell you. I was like, well, that's the village concept.
Right. Right. We
And
know all about that.
and it was interesting because you also see when people are talking with pride about the corporal punishment that they sustained and endured, that that it may not have always been at the hand of their parent. It could have
Mhm.
been at Miss Jenny down the street, and faux Aunt Janine down the street. Like you could have got a couple of spankings before you got home because the whole hood saw you cutting a
Right.
fool. And so, so there was this kind of village, it takes a village to raise a child thing that was inferred in this article and yet not stated implicitly, that I thought was kind of interesting. That at least there was some type of um, supported parenting kind of in the community that helped it helped kids correct behavior.
Well, here's another thing that was brought up in that article too that was interesting. So they talk about discipline techniques. So some of the things they talk about are very complex reward systems. So charting and giving positive reinforcement for things. And what they're saying is, back in the day when you were out in the streets and kind of managing yourself, when you can't, there wasn't a lot of time to do all this kind of positive reinforcement because I really didn't see what you were doing. So the only thing I could do is negatively reward you,
Right.
if you want to call it a reward, for something, some way that you were found acting out. Now that people have their children around them 24/7, it allows you to kind of observe everything that they're doing and create these complex charting and positive reinforcement and all these different discipline techniques. So that's a lot different about the way we parent our children now than how we did
Yeah.
back then.
We have a spreadsheet.
What kind of spreadsheet? Tell me about this spreadsheet.
We have a spreadsheet. We have a chore spreadsheet, and like it has to be checked off. And because we've tried various methods with chores and allowance, and she was just like kind of half-a doing some of the chores and then collecting her check. We don't do that in this house. So we
Right.
went. Yes, an elaborate incentivized program started.
And I wasn't trying to say that was a bad thing, but I'm
It's
saying
not.
that
It's
now
effective.
we have time
It's
because hope is around you all the time versus
right.
just out
Right.
and about playing in the park or
It,
something.
it is an elaborate spreadsheet that I print out each week. It's on our like, command central in the kitchen. And we are on a fee for service chore system.
Whatever works. So let me tell
And
you this though. Let me ask about this. How does your family deal with that? So I know I don't think necessarily we've had challenges, maybe because we haven't been around our family that much to the way we parent. But I could see issues where if we didn't spank Nana, right? So we were just like, Nana, go time out, or we talk to her a lot. Even though she's only 2, that girl has the
yeah,
vocabulary
she
already.
does. She
So
really does.
um, we have a lot of conversations about positive and negative consequences. But I can see, your parents or your family being like, she just needs a good swat. You guys are spoiling her, or.
Oh, oh yeah.
So
We've
what
we've
kind of
I've
feedback
had
have you
I've
gotten
had
from
recommendations for more than a SWAT. Like serious side eye. I mean, and I know that we have been places where tongues have literally just been bit off. Like I just saw it flop out and jump across the floor because people are just looking like you put up with this. And part of it is people don't understand that we are, despite the fact that it's been a year since we met, it's only been since January since she was here. We finalized in June. We're still adjusting. So there's some stuff where I'm like, is that a mountain I'm going to die on, or is that a parking lot that I'm going to die in? Because I don't die in parking lots. I die on
Mhm.
mountains, but I don't die in parking lots. you know. And so there's some stuff where I'm like, we will get to that, but I can't deal with that because we are dealing with way bigger issues that usually people don't see.
Right.
And so some of the behavioral things that nobody I grew up with would have tolerated
Mhm.
ever. They are just kind of, no one says anything. Well, that's not true. Sometimes we say things, or they'll make a little side comment or something. But it's really kind of the nonverbal, like,
You just gonna let her talk to you like that?
right. You're not gonna say nothing.
See, my child would have got punched in the throat. You know, all this.
Throat chop. And so, and one of the things that she does that we're going to actually start working on is, hey, Hope, what? Oh, let me just tell you. Granny and Grandpa,
We didn't
like,
use the
was
word
that
what.
what?
You don't answer what.
Right.
It's
Yeah.
yes.
It's yes. Preferably with a ma'am or sir
Yes.
on the end of that. But yes. And so like the what is finally starting to really irk my nerves. But people like back in November when she came to visit was like, we're gonna have to work on the what. And I'm like, that's a parking lot. We can't deal with that. And so one thing I will say is there's the piece of how I choose to discipline her, which rewards and consequences do work. And so we do have a system of that. I take stuff away. And just when she thinks I don't have anything else to take away, I Jedi mind trick her like a mug and like find something else. Like just something on GP. But what is really tough, I think, in adoptive families or foster families is um, that it doesn't seem like we discipline at all to some people because they're caught up on the surface level stuff
Right.
that like they don't necessarily always see the real hardcore drama
Right.
that's going on, and it's like I cannot waste capital on what.
Right.
Even if it's said with an attitude, I'm not wasting capital on that because there's some ish that I really got to deal with when we
Right.
get
We're
home.
still in healing mode. I don't think people understand that. We're still in
Yeah,
healing mode. What we
yeah.
found is that Nana really responds to positiveness. And I think she still has a little bit of an insecure attachment to us, right?
Mhm.
She's really worried that we leave and things like that. So she responds to positivity and encouragement, like you're a big girl and we love when you do things like that. Not so much the negative piece. And so people on the outside looking in might feel like, well, she's getting away with something. Well, let us worry about that.
Right.
you know.
Well, I mean, and sometimes I'm like, yeah, she is getting away with something. I mean, based on the criterion that I might have had when I was her age, but but that's not the criterion that we're working on. That's just not the criterion that we're working on. And even when I was explaining to Grammy today about some of the tough discussions that we've had thanks to the NFL in the last 2 weeks, they have like really accelerated some conversations that I wasn't planning on having just yet.
Right.
But they've brought back a lot of stuff for her that she's endured. It has like resurfaced some trauma stuff that we're dealing with. And so what might be, hey Hope, what might be starting to grate my nerves? Something fierce. I have to make a really big judgment call on how to discipline, whether I choose to discipline it and how I choose to discipline it. For her, rewards and consequences, negative consequences, are very meaningful to her. The fear of losing something, we've gotten past. There was a period where she was like, well, you can take stuff away from me because I'm not used to having stuff, so it ain't no thing.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, well, dang.
What do I do now?
What do I do now? But since she has become an acculturated middle class kid,
You said she adapted to that really quick.
she's like, don't take my stuff. And like she just actually recently got off of grounding. She was grounded for something pretty seriously, and it's funny though because I had to take away some things, and she is actually afraid now to use the things that she has actually gotten back. Like, I don't want to mess up. Don't take my
Sure.
stuff. Don't take my stuff. And so, it is a fine balance, and and I think that people have to figure out what works for their kids. I can't necessarily say I'm completely against corporal punishment. I have very mixed feelings about it, but I know that I probably would never practice it.
Mm-hmm. Well, you know what? As we're talking about this, I'm thinking about when we talk about trauma and kids, and I'm thinking about how maybe our parents didn't even think about adapting parenting styles based on what we had gone through, because it's a lot of people walking around with trauma every day that are not adopted, right? They have
Right.
gone through whatever, grown up in violent places where they've seen people get into fights or get shot or things like that, gone through sexual trauma, gone through domestic violence or being in a home with domestic violence, who are still in the home. And I wonder why we've never thought about adapting our parenting style. So when children are acting out because of probably those reasons, we just
Yeah.
like, you need to act right and get this whooping.
Right. 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 And it's funny because when you look at some of those kind of throwback reminiscing moments, it's funny because people talk about all different aspects of corporal punishment, like they remember what was used, they remember
Yes.
the articulation of words while it was happening, usually
Yes.
in very high
I'm like, was everybody watching the same how-to video? What?
very clipped diction that broke syllables down into individual strikes, and just kind of these moments that people remember. But it's interesting because when they joke about it and laugh about it, one, it's kind of like they're celebrating again the survival of it, but
Mm-hmm.
they're also kind of celebrating kind of what they think it taught them or what it meant for them in building character. And I just find it to be an interesting I find it to be an interesting sociological discussion, but I also think that we know more. We do have different resources than we did. We had more resources now than we had last year, or
Right.
10 years, or 5 years, or wherever it was and so people can make really, really different choices about how they raise their kids and how they choose to discipline them and teach them character and teach them appropriate behavior. So, yeah, yeah.
So
Yeah.
interesting. Well, one thing I do want to say, there is a website that I found, and I'll put this in the show notes. And it is focused what's the name of that website? Anyway, I'll find it. It is focused on teaching Black parents different ways to parent,
Mm.
and I don't know if you got a chance to check it out, but they have like these really interesting cartoons on there,
Oh.
cartoon strips that kind of show like situations. I think one of them was a situation where a mother was on a subway train and her child was acting out. And I think the other passengers was like, "You need to get him." And there's this character, I think her name is Mama Wise or something like that, who's always there to be like, "No, you don't have to hit your child." This is what you could do, and give like other ways to parent. And it's really, I'm laughing, but it's really cute. And really
It's called
probably a
Spare the
good way.
Kids.
Yes, spare the kids.
SpareTheKids.com. Oh my goodness, look at that. It's got belts at the top.
It is. I don't think they keep it updated, but I do think that it does have some good resources on there, and especially those little cartoons are a good way to articulate it without being judgmental. So
Oh, look, there's even a cartoon. I mean, there's episode 1, The Switch. Yeah, everybody needs to go peep
yes,
that.
check that out. Right.
Peep that in light of our topic and the goings on in the NFL with Adrian Peterson and others. So, wow. Yeah, I think that we'll be talking about corporal punishment, or just kind of discipline in
Discipline.
general. Yeah, discipline in
As
general.
we continue
So,
to learn, because I feel like for me, it's a learning process
yeah,
of what works best with my
right,
child,
right.
as well as how to move away from what I was taught.
Taught.
And even though they go through those classes when you're going through your training classes, this is an ongoing learning to understand different ways of parenting, reading books, and deciding that you want to parent different. It is a choice that you have to actively make. And on top of that, because am married, it's a choice that both of us have
Right,
to actively
right,
come to agreement with,
right.
because it doesn't make sense for Wood to do one thing and I to do another. So we have to sit together and come together and agree on it.
Yes. Listen, them. I mean, I don't know if y'all have pride in your state, but them pride classes ain't. I won't ready. Listen, that is some whatever. Like, oh
Check
yes,
the box.
check the box. You ain't ready.
So,
So yeah, so there's that. So it is now 10:48. We'll probably go a little bit late just because we had some technical difficulties, but we need to get on into our wind down. So
take us into the wind down.
to take a minute to shout out to future adopter. I saw she was watching earlier. Hopefully she's joined us. The group chat is open. Q&A is open. Tell us what you're thinking. But we are. So Mimi and I live tweeted until Mimi fell off because she was in her feelings.
I was in my feelings. Oh my goodness. I was.
We were live tweeting on Tuesday night for Married the reunion show for Married at First Sight. Oh, okay. So let's just go ahead and do the promo. The little white people stayed together. They were so cute. Even the little one that was like about ready to bust up her marriage because boy smoked a dang cigarette when he won't get none, sleeping his long behind on that little bitty little couch and spooning and
Okay.
everything. And like they stood together. She loves him desperately. And the firefighter was looking good. And
He was looking very handsome. I was like, oh, wow.
my smoke detectors don't work. Come see about that. But like,
I
but
need
like
fire inspection for my home study.
our inspection. So the little couples were just so cute, and they were just like, like Courtney's face was beat. I need to do something with her hair, but she is just as cute. Like she's not doing a burlesque no more. They are just happy, 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 happy. Okay, so like, we don't need to talk about the white people anymore.
Wait,
So,
wait. Let's
wait.
talk a little bit about Jamie. I just feel no emotions when Jamie cries. I feel nothing. I'm just looking at her like, mm. Side eye, 2 times.
Well, I'm just kind of looking at Doug like, for real, dude. Like he is in it, and I am so proud of him. But I was like, I would have cut her. Like I would have quit her. I'm sorry,
I
I
feel
would have
like
quit
she
her.
is still dragging him through the ringer every day, and he's just like, but she's so pretty though.
She's so pretty. And I was like, well, at least he's getting some now. Because, like, it was just, I just was feeling for him. He was like, and in the little interviews, he was like, when you're spooning and you're really feeling it, and then nothing happens, it's kind of frustrating.
Like, no, really. He tried to sell spooning to us like that was the best thing since white bread. I'm like,
Now, don't get me
we are
wrong.
not falling for that, Doug. You might have told yourself that, but the rest of us know better.
Hey, like,
Everybody
hey, don't get
enjoys
me
a good
wrong.
spoon, but not on a
Yeah,
permanent
but I
basis.
mean, they were really selling the spooning thing, and I was like, okay. Now you know that Doug really wanted to upgrade, but he's just saying this. It's okay though. It's
Yeah, the save face. See, that's love for you. Because my husband would be like, it's hot. It was hot.
get off me, get off me, get off me. We're in the islands.
And
Get
he had
off
on
me,
these thick pajamas with the footies on.
get off me. Next.
Okay, so we
So
done.
anyway, so we're done with the very happy white people,
Yes.
and we love them. Don't get me wrong. We love white people. We love white people, but let's get to the
Thank you
point.
for
We
that
needed to.
disclaimer.
So, but we need to talk about Vaughn and Monet.
And this is where I fell off because my feelings were hurt and I just couldn't tweet anymore. I just couldn't.
So
I
I
had all
kept
the
tweeting.
feelings.
I kept tweeting, and I actually started to write a blog about it yesterday about my feelings about Monet. Because let me just go ahead and just say, Vaughn is kind of fine. He is fine, but he was an a-hole sometimes. Sometimes he was alright. He just whatever. Anyway, he shoulders his part of the responsibility for why that relationship doesn't work. But as a woman, I really was like, oh my goodness. And Mimi and I we talked about this throughout the season about whether or not she was like this archetype for black women, this stereotype of the strong black woman. But I mean, I just remember I tweeted you and it was like, why is she so mad? Yo, why you mad? What you mad for? And you say you don't care. You mad?
She was hurt. She was hurt. She was hurt, and I think I said this before. When you're used to succeeding, and by all maybe accounts, she succeeded, except in love. I'm successful. I'm educated. I have my own apartment. I'm living in New York. I'm doing all these things. I have friends to go to brunch with on a regular basis. I'm living what should be the modern black girl's life. But I haven't succeeded in love, and now the whole world has seen me fail.
Right.
And so I think there's a lot of hurt in that because, and I think she mentioned this a little bit, now she represents, in a way, everything that black women aren't, can't be, just here you are, another black woman just can't get it together, and that's why you can't keep a man.
Yeah, but what was interesting, the view that I walked away from, and I didn't get in my feelings. Let me say, I was feeling a little something. I was feeling a little something because like, oh, okay, here we go. The black people can't even work, and then they can't even act right. Your parents must be so dang embarrassed like, by how y'all are cutting up on this daggone couch.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it was
And
just
that's why I was hurt, because I was like, could y'all not have handled
so.
this in a better way?
Right. Y'all should have talked beforehand so that you could kind of come out and get your stuff together. But I didn't get in my feelings really until I sat down to try to write about it. And what was frustrating to me was there is this kind of, especially for us single girls, this kind of notion like, we are strong, we are independent, we don't need you. We don't need you. And she just kept like pretty much telling his brother, I don't need you and you ain't ready anyway. And and I tweeted like, you cannot emasculate somebody that you hope to be your partner and think that mess is gonna work out. You can't.
And Vaughn was very honest about that, because I think he pretty much said, like, I could tell,
Yeah.
you let me know that I didn't meet your expectations of whatever you had in your mind about how much I made and what type of job I had and what my career drive was, because I think maybe in her mind she expected this brother to be the second half of her power couple.
Yes.
Right? And Vaughn was like, hey, I go to work and I come home, I want some food on the table and I want to
And,
chill with
and I
my
want to do more than spoon. He
He
said
probably would have
he said he wanted to do more than spoon, and he wanted to more than spoon all day long. So, and he was like, I just want somebody that's chill. And she has this expectation, yeah, that they were gonna be this power couple. He gonna go to Wall Street, she gonna do her thing, and they're just gonna be Bay and Jay like busting up in the elevator. And and he was like, that's not the life that I'm checking for. That's not what his vision was. And
Right.
and she had to admit that, that's not what she communicated also to the experts, that, she
Right.
was envisioning this power couple. But I was really, she was like, I don't think that you really wanted a sister anyway. And he was like, whoa.
And I didn't like that
Yeah.
because, we
Yeah.
have a tendency to think that black men that don't
Want
look or act a
you.
certain way, well, yeah, that too, but don't present in a certain way, don't like black women. And he
Right.
was kind of clear, like, no, I still like black women. Like,
Yeah.
just because I didn't
Yeah.
like you doesn't
Just
mean I
because I
have a
didn't like you, right? He was like, I ain't sworn off, sisters, and he was like, and what was interesting was he was like, well, I wanted a black woman. I specifically asked for one. Here are the reasons why. I come from this family of black women that I just admire, and that's what I want for myself. And what she said that was so striking to me was, well, I don't understand why like this didn't work, because they're strong black women and I'm strong. And I was like, yeah, but see, time out, sister. This is not strong. Just you like, yelling or posturing. I mean, even her body language was like, I'm gonna let you know. I mean, come on
Right,
now. She wore a freakum dress. She wore
right.
the revenge dress on that
It looked
stage,
good
and I'm
though.
going.
Go ahead with the
She
green
looked
dress,
great.
girl.
She
I was
looked
like,
fantastic.
you doing it.
You could tell she had kind of done some stuff and worked
Yeah.
out a little bit in this last 6 months. I ain't mad at her. And I was like, but call it what it is. And she was like, well, I mean, they're strong black women, so I don't understand why you couldn't deal with me.
He, wait a minute, but she brought in his mom, and he was like, we're gonna leave my mama out of it. But and I saw you tweet like, you shouldn't have brought his mom into it.
Mama,
But I think she
yeah.
was trying to present the fact that, well, this is how your mom acts. At least with me, she felt similar. Maybe she felt similarities to her. And he was like, but my mom is a sweetheart.
Well, but the thing about it is that she thought that her and Vaughn's mom had similar, characteristics in common. But
Right.
clearly she won't listen to Vaughn's mom, because Vaughn's mom was like, look, you need to sweeten the tea with
Yes,
my
she
boy.
did. Yeah, she did.
You need to soften these rough edges. You can't just be talking to him all crazy. And
Right.
so, and she didn't hear that. She didn't hear that. And
Mm-mm.
so, I think, I wish them both well. I think that they're cool people, but I really hope that they both grow. And just from one black woman and to another, I really, really hope that she matures and that she finds that, making somebody that you care about a sandwich, or as I said in the last episode, making them or a hot dog, is not gonna snatch your feminist card. Number one. Number two, like, men are really not that complicated, but their egos are so fragile.
Very
Like,
fragile.
you got to nurture them, encourage them. You are like, I am your, like, I am your, like, chick. I'm gonna ride or die with you, and I'm gonna make sure that you get fed, even if I'm not gonna feed you. I'm gonna make sure you get fed, and we're gonna take care of that other stuff that we know you need. And it's really not, but they need that emotional support. And she just was like, you on your own for that. And I think that if they had been able to make the emotional connection, then, just being collegial with each other. I mean, more than civil,
Right. Right.
which was, his thing.
He
We
was
all
like, I
knew it
like it
wasn't
when
gonna
we're
work.
civil. So it made it seem like, well, what they made it seem like is they definitely were doing a lot more arguing behind the scenes with
Mhm.
what we didn't see. And
Yeah.
I agree with you. I think Monet just also, I think she does need to mature. And what I didn't really see is a lot of ability to self-reflect.
Yeah.
There was a lot of externalizing
Hmm.
about Vaughn and his issues. And there was some I don't want to call it pandering, but there was some agreement that, yeah, I grew and I need to change some things. But I think a lot of it was focused on him. And this is the thing that I've learned about your girlfriends. Your girlfriend may be a cool chick, and to you, you may wonder, well, I don't understand why she doesn't have a man. But in a relationship, she is totally different. And
Totally
so
different.
what she's maybe not getting, she's getting the girlfriend perspective and not understanding what the man actually needs, what somebody in a
Right.
relationship actually needs.
Right.
Because you probably are a great girlfriend because she seems like a cool chick, but
Right.
you really haven't understood what a man would need to really love you and become that partner that you want from him.
Right. Right.
And then
Right.
the other thing I would say, and this is my advice because of kind of the way our marriage is set up, everybody, in order for you to be successful, you might need somebody that is the person that is comes home and is the person that's just there supporting you. You might not necessarily need a person that needs to be out and about the same way that you're out and about because that might not match. Y'all both passing each other in the night. So you might need somebody that's like that to be your cheerleader,
Yeah.
to
Well,
be your
yeah.
support system.
Right.
And you don't understand that because you have this ideal about what you want and need. You didn't take the time to understand what he could actually give you.
Give you. Right. Right. I mean, I have told a lot of my girlfriends, and I don't talk about Elihu a whole lot on the blog, but I will definitely say that there were parts of me that really hurt watching Vaughn and Monet because I know that there were some times in my life where I probably was a little bit more like her.
Oh,
And
yes.
I know that this last year that, I was just broke down and this man kind of swooped into my life and he is a caretaker, nurturer, like he is, and that's just who he is. And I'm realizing like, hey, like the dudes I might have been checking for before, I mean, I don't know what the future holds for us, but I was like, hey, this is a power couple. Like this can be a power couple right here.
Absolutely. But sometimes you have to go through things so you can learn on your own, right?
Right,
You have to
right.
go through it. So I'm hoping the best for
So,
both of them.
yeah.
I'm sure Vaughn will get snatched up. He does have some a-hole tendencies, but I think, he's not expressive. He doesn't probably express himself in the best way, but
Right.
and
I don't
he's
know.
probably a little
Whoever,
flexible.
yeah, but I mean, look, they're kind of young, but I'm like, look, whoever dates him next, listen to his mama. Go back and watch them tapes and listen to his mama, because
Nurture that
mama
man,
knows.
feed him, and rub on him a little bit, which is what his mama was pretty much like. Rub on him a little bit.
A
He'll
little bit,
be like
like,
a little genie. He'll be okay.
just right, you be all right. And so, good luck to both of them. But I realized that I felt more strongly about it yesterday when I tried to. I was like, girl, like this whole. She was like, now people gonna think I'm an angry black woman. I was like, yeah,
Yeah, but that was all you. All
that
you.
was you.
All you.
You,
And
I
you
mean,
might be an angry black woman and you just might not recognize it.
because I
And
mean,
the thing is, you're like, but I'm bubbly. Yes, to your girlfriends.
to your girlfriends. But I just need her to know, Monet, if for whatever reason you end up watching this podcast, it felt like you came and stalked yourself on stage like you was going to battle. And it
Yeah,
just really didn't need to be that way. And both of like their hankles were already up to do
yeah,
combat when, they came out and then it just escalated. And he was like, I'm not gonna do that with somebody that is going to treat me this way. And and I applaud him for being that honest. Good for him. And good luck to both of them. I mean, I think that they're probably really, really cool people. I also, before we leave this topic, I want to say I was really mad because she let her girlfriend, I don't know if you saw that tweet of her girlfriend and her with the picture and this hashtag grown women don't something like grown women don't check for little boys or something like that. And I was like, look, you got to keep your girlfriends out your business too.
I didn't see the hashtag, but I do want to comment. It's one more thing that happened. At the beginning, remember, on their honeymoon, she felt like he was coming out of left field, where he was like, "I just feel like we're not connecting."
Yeah.
And I remember watching that and being like, he came out of a bag with it. Watching the episode, it seemed strange. But when he explained what happened, he said he was trying to show her around Puerto Rico, and
Mm-hmm.
he was talking to her, saying that he wanted to go to the beach, and she didn't answer. She wasn't like responding to him. And her response was, "Yeah, he was talking, but he already knew that we weren't going to go to the beach because we were taping all day."
Right.
And so I was just like, why is he even saying that? And she just didn't respond to him. And it just told me, like, right there, you didn't
There.
like him.
From the jump.
You didn't like him
From the
because
jump.
he's just kind of chattering and making conversation. And there's any way you could have responded to that, like, "Oh man, we could go to the beach." Let's
Right.
go after the cameras close. I mean,
Right.
they're
Or can we talk to the production folk and see if maybe we could just go to the beach instead?
right, but your response was just like, "I'm not even gonna answer you because you already know we
Right.
ain't going to no beach."
Right. Right.
And that's how she said that she responded. That was her rationale. And I just felt like, oh.
All of a
And
sudden,
it just hurt my feelings. I was like, it already shows, like, you just weren't feeling that guy from the beginning. After you woke up, after y'all had sex, you were just like,
all of a
he's not what I
sudden,
want.
Jamie and Doug spooning didn't seem so bad.
I know. So anyway, that's all I have to say about that.
So that's all
I'm
we got to say
disappointed,
about
and
that.
I like Monique. I think she's a cute girl, and I see myself in
I
her.
see
And I
myself in
think
her
I
too.
was so hurt because I was like, oh, is this me? That's the other
Right.
thing. I think that's the other thing that I
Right.
felt like maybe that's me too.
I was like, oh my God, I know that there were times in my life where I was her.
Yes.
And, so I hope in a few years she's able to come back and be like, oh my God, look at the whole series with a new hope. Their little promo, apparently they're just going to beat this show, to death because they got more outtakes next week. I don't know if I'm really going to tune
Yeah.
into that. We're going to have to find some new stuff to watch. If you got recommendations, tweet
Yes.
us.
Let us know. What
Tweet
show
us,
would you
drop
want us
us
to
a
chit chat
line,
about?
and let us know what you think we should be watching this season. So, recommendations. What you got? What you got? What you got? What
I
more ratchet piece theater stuff did you pick up from the corner store
I
this
only
week?
do that once a month. So, Today I have a regular recommendation,
Oh, okay.
and this is for people with toddlers. Um, did I recommend this before? But I don't know. But one thing that I do after I get home from work, I'm trying to just spend good time with Nana. And so what we've been doing is painting and crafting and things. And what I want to recommend is what's called Crayola Color Wonder finger paints. And they're like
Oh.
these finger paints that in the jar they look clear, but when you put them on the special paper, they turn colors. And she can just be as messy as she wants to be with these finger paints, and they don't stain your table or stain anything that she rubs on. It only shows up on the paper, and it's easy to
Oh.
wipe off, and it's great. So I love it, and Nana loves it. We both are over there finger painting stuff.
Those they got some mad crazy chemists over at the
They do.
Crayola joint. They just be coming up with all kinds of stuff.
It's pretty cool. So, we even made pictures for Daddy to take to work. So Wood now has a Nana original in his office, and I have
Nice.
one in my office. So those
Nice.
parents.
Those parents. Well, I realized tonight at back to school night that I was going to be one of those parents hustling, like, I don't know, pizza crust and oranges and crap for the band concert. So,
Are you just gonna buy everything and then
yeah, pretty much.
just write a check? There you go.
Because that's what I did with other people's kids. Don't bring that mess in my office. Like, I don't want frozen pizza dough. I don't want it. So I don't need any more wrapping paper. I don't want it.
Hey,
So
but let me tell you something. Those chocolate almonds, do not sleep on those because those are tasty. Okay? Those are yum-tastic. So if you get
Well,
a chance to get those $2 almonds, you better get some.
I'm allergic to almonds, but
Oh.
if by chance a box or a tin, remember the old school tins of katydids? Now, should
No,
our
no, I don't remember that.
It's a little too old school. Let me
I'm
sip
gonna
on
let you have that one.
that.
I don't even know what a katydid is. So what is that?
Anyway, they're
Sounds
kind
like
of like
a little cricket.
pecan clusters with
Okay.
and chocolate. And they come in a metal tin, and that used to be the big fundraiser thing back in the day. So, so anyway, my recommendation, I have a real recommendation this week. I am still on my Benadryl thing because, again, it is still ragweed season, but I do have a real one this week, and it is 7 things. You had a toddler recommendation. I have a teenager recommendation. The 7 things your teenager won't tell you and how to talk about them anyway, by Jennifer Marshall Lippincott and Robin Deutsch. And it's a short little book. And I picked it up at the library. And at
Yay
our
for library cards.
yes, written, published in 2005, but it's a handy dandy little thing. And because I've been really struggling with this whole teenager thing, mm, mm, it's challenging. So anyway, it has this wonderful list of the 7 things, and I'll just mention them real quick. Like the 7 things that your teenager won't tell you. Their brains are to blame. Truth is malleable. I'm struggling
Mm-hmm.
with that one right there. Struggling. Do you hear me? Controlling them is not the point. The adolescent mirror distorts. Friends don't matter as much as we think they do. And when we say no, they hear maybe. And taking risks gives them power. And I kind of was looking for books because we have really been struggling with the trauma stuff. Typically is actually easier for me to deal with. The teenage stuff is the stuff that, like, I really do want to go get the tree branch. Like, I just world, I don't understand. And I really was like, um part of my job is doing research, and so if there's data that I can actually cling to that helps me, like, just set aside the emotional stuff, put it in a box, and not react emotionally, but say, aha, there's a scientific, researched, data-driven, empirical reason why this crazy mess is happening, then that allows me to actually deal with it. Because, like, the trauma stuff, there's data. I got that.
Right.
So I've been looking for books that kind of help me understand empirically why. Dot, dot, dot.
A whole host of things. Why?
I mean, I don't understand. I just really, like, daily I don't understand. And so even just that one thing that was like brain development is, their brain development is still going pretty rapidly in the teenage years. And so there's just, like, stuff that they might excel at on one end, they will do something incredibly, like, if you can do this, I don't understand how you can't do that. Like, I don't understand how you cannot hang up your keys by the key thing at the door, and we have to go through this thing every morning. I have to leave her a note. After reading this book, I realized I just needed to leave her a note, but after she left for school, on her bed, please hang up your keys.
Yeah. You know what? Understanding what the brain development stage is at each stage of your child's life is so helpful
Yeah.
because, again, the way we grew up, you just were just taught to be obedient.
Right.
So,
Well, no brain
what?
development. Get on over there and hang that key.
Yeah. What are you talking about? Sit still. I'm talking to you. Like all this other movement and stuff that Nana does. But it's helpful to understand, like, the reason why she can't focus on your face is because everything is interesting to her. So if something moves on the side, right, she cannot not look at it. She has
Right.
to look at it because that's part of her development. It's good to know that so you don't think that she is ignoring you, even though
Right.
she's only 2. You know that she's 2, but to know this is the reason why she's acting like that is so helpful in, letting things go.
Yeah. I mean,
You
it really helps me disassociate the emotional piece and not totally wig out every single time, which is like hourly, that something trips off. So that's my recommendation for the week.
Love it.
It's good stuff. Pick it up at your local library. You ain't even got to buy it. So and it's a quick read. So, where can they find you in the E streets?
Well, I want to give a little quick shout out to a
Oh,
couple of
yeah.
people. Yes, so Emily Age hit us up on Twitter. Hey, thanks for watching the show.
Hey.
She's been watching us at work or listening to us at work. And we got a new African American blogger
Yes, yes.
who is blogging about her foster care and adoption journey. And you can find her at morethanfashion.wordpress.com. So check her out.
More with two
And
O's.
yes, 2 O's. And you
Yeah.
can find us everywhere now. So you can find us. We have a Google Plus page, which we are broadcasting from, which gave us the technical difficulty today, but we're gonna work that
We're gonna
out.
work that out.
We what else do we have going on? We have a YouTube channel. And we
Yes.
are working on some other things coming soon. But you can
Yes.
find me at my blog, and you can go directly to complicatedmelody.com. Complicated Melody with an I.com will get you to my webpage. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
And you can find me on Twitter at Mimi Complex. And what about you?
You can find me at adoptiveblackmom.wordpress.com. You can also find me on the Twitters at adoptiveblackmom. Yeah, we'll be announcing some new stuff and where you can find us and post us and hit us up in the next probably week or so. We got all kinds of things planned for the future of AddWater and more. And yeah, thanks for joining us.
Thanks for
Anything
joining
else?
us, and we'll see you guys in 2
2
weeks.
weeks.
All
Have a
right.
good night. Bye.